Next, we're joined by Insight Partners Managing Director Devin Perek to discuss where AI goes next, from software to hardware. He is joined by tech pioneer and investor Tony Fadell. Tony has helped create some of the most recognizable devices in the world, including the iPod, iPhone, and Nest.
So Tony, look, you've helped the way change how we listen to music and how we change our temperature. And now you're investing in deep tech, you're writing books. Just tell us what you're doing today.
What am I doing today? These days, right now, I'm still investing and taking care of the portfolio at Build Collective. So we're a deep tech investment firm. And we're in around 150 companies, something like that. We've been investing for about 15 years. Author, right? So Build, now in 31 languages.
I'm your agent.
What?
I'm your agent here.
You're my agent. And then I just last week got appointed to be a designer in residence at MIT in the media lab and architecture and engineering. So I'm going to go up there, and they just said, make trouble. So I said, okay, I'm going to come and make trouble and figure out what's going on. So that's what I'm mostly doing right now. And I'm a shadow CEO at 4 companies.
That means companies are not doing that well?
Yeah, always. I don't want to be doing this. Let's put it that way.
All right, so let's talk about the topic of the day, AI. One of the things you were quoted as saying is that AIs are like know-it-alls. And I don't necessarily think of know-it-alls as a positive statement. So as you think about why do you think that, and then how has that influenced what you're investing in?
Well, so, I think we all grew up with someone who was a know-it-all. Right? And we were always like, okay, here we go. Or you would never hire one who was a know-it-all. Because it was like, you could talk to them and you're like, they say everything the way it's supposed to be said. But then when you actually go behind the scenes, you go, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. That's not true. And so we have a lot of great examples of AI where it works and it works brilliantly. But we don't have all the stats of where it doesn't work. And I've been asking the AI community multiple times, have we done a bunch of error? Like, do we have error tracking on all this? We just showed the percentage of success. We show the failure, but how failed are they? And all the other failures they have. And so that's okay for lots of consumer apps. It's okay if you don't get a picture that looks the way you want it, whatever, if you're on the creative side. But when you're dealing with a financial bot, or you're dealing with a AI medical scribe, or you can a legal assistant. When you're going to put your brand and your company on the line, you need to know how these things work, right? You need to know you can trust it, or that the person that's using it has tools to be able to evaluate the output, right? Luckily with AI coders, you can see if the code's working or not. And then you can use more tools and everything else to debug that. But we don't have those things for all these other industries. So when you're going to put your brand, when you're going to put your taking a person and either augmenting or replacing them, you better know it's going to work. And we have a long way to go for that. And so I invest in companies that really understand the data and their training models very, very well, and have all kinds of tools to then assess the accuracy of those things. We have medical imaging ones that are FDA approved. We have medical scribes, these kinds of things. But they're trained very, very differently than just using general purpose LLM.
But you're still building them on existing models?
We're building them on open source ones with different training data.
That are specific to that application.
Yeah, they're very specific. Yeah.
So look, you talked about having a big portfolio. You're effectively a coach to your portfolio,
yeah.
Maybe a shadow CEO.
That's why I wrote the book. I was like, I can't coach all of them, so I'm going to write the book to give it to the.
I think all of us who have portfolios right now are dealing with a reality that we have some companies that are AI native day one, but a lot of companies that are not. Like a lot of these portfolios got built in the last 5 years, 7 years, longer.
For sure.
So as you talk to your entrepreneurs, what do you think are the best entrepreneurs doing with respect to reinventing their business for an AI native world? And what do you think the most common mistakes people are making?
Well, a few of them, they're like, oh, we're going to go and replace customer support. Right? And if any of you have been on any of these AI-driven customers, they're absolutely horrible. They say they work. They might work, but they really don't when you're on the other side and you're having a problem. And so that's like, I don't want to put things up in, and I tell the companies that we're investing in, don't put things in front of your customer that you can't absolutely know that your brand is going to be, it has to be properly represented. And so I'm always about, okay, what's in the back of house? How can we do other kinds of automation and not necessarily human replacement? If we're doing human replacement, we're doing it with things that do not touch directly the customer. It has to go filter through a couple of chains of humans before it gets there. And so I'm trying to do much more on the operations and the interior side than on the exterior side.
So kind of moving to kind of just the way we interact with AI. I mean, if you think about the success you've had, so much of it early in your career was around beautiful design. You know, like I still have kept my first iPod. Like I mean, I'll go to the Smithsonian one day.
Right. And remember, the Nest Learning Thermostat was it was probably the first consumer product ever to have AI in it. We just couldn't talk about it.
Talk about that for a second. Yeah.
In 2011, we had AI, but we couldn't call it AI
because
we had to because people would be scared. You have artificial intelligence changing my temperature? You're like, no. So we had to call it the learning thermostat. But we had real AI in it on a little processor. And it was running battery operated, and we sold millions and millions. The first, million seller consumer
But you had a beautiful interface in both cases.
Well, you had to have that too.
And so you got all, AI is going from the cloud to the edge, but we're all sitting around still typing into chat boxes. Is that going to be the ultimate interface?
I think, if we look at how computing started, it all started with typing.
Yeah.
So chatbots are where we're at right now with typing. But I remember when my daughter, before she could read, she started interacting with Siri, right? And so if you start thinking about the next generations, and I already see people, younger people already using, like ChatGPT voice. Yeah, and just interacting that way with it. And I see that more and more, much more than you ever saw Siri or any other things. So I think we're going to go through the natural progression of, well, it's text first, but then it's going into other modalities. And I think a lot of the listening, a lot of the, you're starting to see these devices. How many people in here use granola? Anybody know what granola is? Yeah. Like, that's like a simple thing where it's in the background and it generates incredible notes and...
OpenAI seems to have invested billions of dollars in some sort of device that will come out sometime in the next couple of years.
Right.
If you had to, I know you're not going to go back and work at OpenAI for Johnny Ive, but if you were out thinking about what that next hardware device would be for AI,
look,
what would it be?
AI is all about context. So when we're talking about chat sessions, and you're saying, what's the next generation AI? If AI hallucinates less, you have to ask it less, if it has the best context. And what we were trying to do at Nest was actually create incredible context awareness inside your home. So when you used an AI agent, you could get what you wanted to be done when you say just 4 words, because it knows your home, knows you're in a certain room, what have you. And so these devices and the things that are being worked on now that are beyond the smartphone, but the smartphone can do this as well, are things that give much more context, real-time context, to chatbots or voice bots or whatever you want to call them, or however you use them, so that they can answer much more accurately when you ask it a much simpler question, right? Right now, you're asking me questions. We know this context. We know what's going on here. The chatbot needs to know, who are you talking to? In what space? At what time of day? All these different things. And so what is going on, and because of Apple's restrictions and Android restrictions, a lot of the software apps cannot get sensor data, and they can't get access to all this stuff. So people are going to be creating these either wearable ones or put it on a desk, put it in your backpack, whatever, sensor blocks. And they'll pass all the sensor data over Bluetooth or what have you, the network, to get into the bot to give the context, because Apple, Google, whatever, doesn't want to give out that data for privacy or other reasons. And so these companies, OpenAI is one of them, are making sensor boxes. So think cameras, multiple microphones, temperature sensors, location sensors, all kinds of different things in that, so they can pipe all of that context into the chat bot voice bot, whatever it is, so that it can give much quicker answers. Now, what is also going to happen is those boxes, what should happen is, because the problem is we're seeing with $1 trillion of data centers and everything, is most of the time when you're doing consumer apps, not when you're doing deep research, these other things, you don't have to do a lot of inference work, right? Inference work for an AI to work. And so if you're seeing everybody's making small models, those models need to run right next to you, because the power requirements of going over the network, everything is, the latency of going over the network, you need everything right there. So you have the sensors, you're going to have the little compute, because you can't use the compute on your iPhone. iPhones have tons of AI compute, but it's not being exploited right. So they're going to put that in the box as well.
Box.
Right, it can do the voice right there. It can do simple, a lot of the basic things, not just simple, but basic things that you would want done with an AI in a consumer mode. You're not asking it to do a chemistry experiment on the, right there. Not everyone's asking that every day. If it needs to do it and doesn't understand it, it can go back, right? We're always seeing that with ChatGPT 5 right now. It has, quick mode, thinking mode, and then it self-selects. Well, you're going to see all kinds of modes like that, and they're going to run local, or they're going to run in the cloud, or some hybrid version, those kinds of things. And so that's all going to be coming, and that's what you're going to start seeing in these sensor boxes, or in glasses, or in what have you. Even earphones are really great, over-the-ear headphones too. So that your smartphone's not going to be cast aside. It's still going to be there. Why? Because visual information is best shown visually, right? It's just, and you're not going to carry yet another screen, and even these little screens in your the new Meta glasses. Don't cut it. So you're going to still see these are all going to be peripherals to a smartphone for the time being, until we make incredible agents that really know you, where you can get rid of the smartphone. So and then you'll just have a small display that you can bring in.
One way I always get interesting insights about technology is talking to my kids. And so I first heard about ChatGPT from my kid in college saying, "Dad, you have to be on this right away." Yeah. But I was talking to them recently, and I said, "So, what are you using it for today?" He's like, "Dad, have you asked it to describe you to yourself?" And I'm like, "No, why would I do that?" He's like, "Well, memory's pretty good. Why don't you try that, Dad?" So I tried, and I was like, "Holy shit, it knows me better than my wife." And then I called him back and said, "Well, that was kind of scary." And I'm like, "How?" He's like, "Look, my friends are using this for therapy." I'm like, So my question to you is, how much? We talked earlier about accuracy. We talked about how these models are, 80% accurate. It's not great for medical applications. How much does the fact that people are using it in that way, or using it for relationships, how much does that scare you?
It's pretty scary. To tell you the truth, it's pretty scary, because these things start to become kind of information loops on you. And then because I've seen some people use them, and I'm that's the therapy help that it's giving you. It's basically just reflecting what you want to hear, as opposed to helping you find another path for getting help.
It tends to be very agreeable.
It tends to be very agreeable. So I actually invested in a company that is a relationship coach. And it's fine-tuned on all kinds of real data that you say, okay, I want to have a hard conversation with my partner, spouse, whatever it is. And the AI therapist says, well, you could do it these ways. And then an AI version of your partner, whoever it is, you start talking to it. And then the therapist goes, hey, you might want to say it this way, and you might want to say it that way, and this is how it reacts. And literally, this stuff is working today. So again, it's got to be in context. And my worry is that these know-it-alls, we're going to get in a real weird situation when
that's what I worry about. But it happened with social media. You can see these things early, and you either have to come up with a solution or not. But once it is in the wild and everybody's using it that way,
look at Sora already.
No,
it's one of those things where it's scary, but it's also very interesting, and I'm also optimistic and hopeful. So I can't just put my head in the sand and go.
From your standpoint, what's the most overhyped part of the AI market? I don't mean necessarily company; it can be application. And what's the most underhyped, where you think there's going to be a real world impact and we're not really talking about it?
Well, I think I just mentioned it. We're talking about incredible, huge data centers, nuclear powered data centers and everything. If we start taking a lot of the applications that don't require that kind of level, and you start pushing them to the edge, and you start putting the compute on your devices that you have around you, we're not going to have anywhere near the amount of compute that you need. We saw this with DeepSeek. There was the DeepSeek moment earlier this year, and like stock market dropped, and like, oh my God, we don't need all these data centers. And it's true, people just forgot about it. Those models exist. Even OpenAI just came out yesterday, I think it was, with the voice model that was 70% much more 70% smaller and can run on device.
On device, yeah.
Right. So it's like these things are happening, and they're not being valued yet.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff has to move to the edge. A lot of this stuff has to move to the edge. It's going to be like supercomputers. We all don't have supercomputers of the 80s, 90s, and even today, where we did run nuclear experiments and chemistry experiments and all these things. We still have supercomputing centers, but we're not all using them.
Yep.
And we're going to have, we'll have supercomputing, quantum computing, all these other things for certain AI applications, but we don't need all of that stuff in our day-to-day lives. And so our data centers are getting incredibly massively built out for things that are going to naturally move to your pocket or in your home or in your business or wherever, because of the fact energy, wireless communications, the cost. You're going to want to be able to afford these things. People are paying, nowhere. Like I heard that the stat is the GDP of Singapore is the same size as the investments in data centers this year.
Oh,
and what is the revenue?
Yeah.
What is the revenue?
It's 30 billion.
Somalia. Okay, so wait a second. We have a mismatch here, and I don't care how much we build out. And what's going to happen is people are not going to be paying $200 or $1,000 a month, individuals, for these AI agents. They're going to have to run closer and closer to you.
So and again, you don't have to name this in the context of companies, but you know where these companies are valued. Are you long or short there?
I'm not investing in them.
Well,
I'm investing in the picks and the shovel.
So I'll ask the question a different way, though. Like, when you look at the capital intensity and you look at the announcements over the last 3 weeks of the amount of commitments that NVIDIA's made to Oracle and Oracle's made back to AMD and AMD's made to NVIDIA, you add it all up and it's a pretty big number.
It's $1 trillion. It was in Financial Times today.
Can these companies ever get to a level of profitability where the return on capital looks anything like a software company?
Well, look, as we all see, everybody runs for it, and then there's consolidation. So at some point, there's going to be consolidation, right? And it's just everybody. Look, here's what's happened. Everybody looks at these growth curves, and they go, "Oh my God, look at the adoption curve of smartphones. Look at the adoption curve of laptops and internet and all these things." And they go, "Oh my God, this is the fastest ever adoption curve." The reason being is we've taken out all the friction. We laid the railroad tracks for the internet. Then we made all the internet services and shopping. Then we made smartphones. Then we made social mobile. Then we made wireless networks and Wi-Fi. And then we put it around the world and data centers around the world. So anything that is somewhat interesting and basically free can get adopted very, very quickly now because it's everywhere. The internet grew only at the rate it could because there wasn't even broadband yet.
Yep.
Right? So everybody's just, and it's worldwide, so everybody's investing at once. So it's to me, it's an anomaly. Of course, is this powerful? For sure. But are we 10 times over-counting what it could be? Absolutely.
So day in the life of Tony's use of AI. And what's missing in it?
What's missing in it?
Well, what is the Daniel? What is the tech stack of Tony? The AI Tony tech stack?
If I go on my, my main screen of my phone, I don't even have Google Chrome on it. I have all the different AI things at the bottom first. That's only when I need to go there for some weird reason. So
anybody from Google in the audience? No.
But I'm talking Google Gemini.
Yeah,
I'm not just Google Chrome.
Yeah.
And so I'm using it more and more and more for everything. I do creative things. I'm asking questions, I just remember those endless 30-minute, hour sessions where you'd be lost and you'd have to go click and it's all gone. And so that's all gone. I'm, with my team, we're doing, I don't know if anyone's tried Google Mixboard. Has anyone tried Google Mixboard? It's freaking awesome.
No. What is it?
It's basically like you can make mood boards and various design boards within 5 minutes, and you can say, "Oh, give me a picture like this, and you can make these kind of
like an interior designer would do.
Yeah, like for a designer. So we're doing that all the time. So and then Figma, we're using a bunch of stuff in Figma to do prototyping and flow charts and everything.
But do you employ less people? Do you have my observation, we were talking about this earlier, is that particularly when you look at bigger companies, everyone's talking about, you sit up at the board meeting, like, oh, we have 40% of our coming through, software development's coming through Claude, and then you say, okay, what's your head count? It's like, oh, we're up 5%, actually not necessarily seeing the impact that everyone's talking about. So is it gonna come? Is it just early?
I think it's the same thing that we always have, is they have so many things they need to get done, and so they're just getting them done the old way, and they're experimenting around the edges. The ones that I see are the new companies that are from scratch. They're the ones really thinking about it.
Because they're built that way.
But the big ones, they're all nipping, and looking at stuff.
So in kind of more in that deep tech AI kind of.
I should say medical. My God, our companies in the medical scribe stuff's taking off like crazy.
The scribes.
It's scribes, and it's also coding for insurance coding for.
Well, that's pretty good ROI.
Yeah, it's really good. But it's growing like crazy.
But so when you think about deep tech, which you do a lot of, and you think about the convergence of deep tech and AI, whether it be biotech or kind of other areas, if you now go forward like 5 years, thinking as an investor, where do you think AI is going to have the biggest impact on the acceleration of innovation? What end industry?
Every one of them. No, seriously, we're doing AI in agriculture. We're doing AI in drug discovery, and it's supercharging all of our research teams or our next generation product roadmaps for how we think about them. So I don't know what it's not going to touch.
So okay, end on the what are you worried about with respect to AI?
What am I worried about? I'm worried about bad actors having basically, the equivalent of nuclear bombs. Right, it was hard to make them before.
Right, but now we have these small open source models that can sit on a phone. Guess what? Any non-state actor can get access to that, and there's not going to be a regulatory way of stopping it.
Yeah, and Microsoft, what was it? Last Friday, they said, we can, these, at least Microsoft's co-pilots can be used to create bioweapons. Right? They just said that. So they have to put guardrails.
Thank you for announcing it. But
yeah, no, well, they announced it.
No, I'm saying thank you to Microsoft for announcing it.
Thanks to Microsoft. But yeah, no,
is there any, look, there's obviously a lot of talk in Europe about regulatory frameworks, some talk in the US, maybe a little less so this. Is there a broad regulatory framework? Forget about whether you could get people to agree, but is there even a broad regulatory framework that's relevant here? People talk about the nuclear industry as a way of a model. Sam Altman's talked about that. But is there really a model for AI that you think could even work?
I think the cat's out of the bag. I'm just looking at regulatory or some kind of government capture of quantum right now. Because if you look quantum, that's kind of going to replace the incredible supercomputers. And you really want to know where those quantum are. And they're so expensive and everything. And they're very hard to build. You just
worry about that from a hacking standpoint.
I worry for all kinds of standpoints.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're a believer. How far is quantum? How far away is it? You think from?
It's closer than you think. Yeah, it's already starting. Quantum supremacy in certain ways. We're already getting some of our encryption products quantum safe. We're already changing algorithms for that.
I've got one other thing I want to hit on, which is China. So if you look at consumer internet. You have a global consumer internet, and you have a China consumer internet. Like most U.S. companies haven't been able to operate there. But Chinese companies in AI, do you see there as being kind of a world where it's got two AIs, a Western AI and a Chinese AI?
Oh, well, we're going to see it in semiconductors. We're going to see it all the way through. Absolutely. because there's always going to be all the government controls that are put on Chinese. Like there's two different TikToks. There's the Chinese TikTok and the rest of the world TikTok.
And what do you think the implications of that are?
The world is separating.
It's just going to
keep separating. It's going to keep separating. We're from chips all the way on up. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, on that optimistic note. Thank you, Tony. Thank you. And we've got the book out there, so please give it a read. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.